Good afternoon and welcome to all joining us here today. I am Takis Damaskopoulos and I am standing here as the ERA chair of the InfoRact project. The InfoRact project is funded by the European Commission. It's a 4-year project and its purpose is to explore the implications of Industry 4 for management and economics. The way we have approached it is basically try to paint, if you want, some of the key research issues on a very broad canvas that is involving different levels of analysis, micro, meso, region studies, ecosystems, and so on, and of course, policy and regulation, which is the macro dimension to this. This webinar is part of a series of related events whose objective is to present and discuss some of the key findings of the project with the academic, business, policy-making communities, but also the public at large. It is very important in our view that if InfoRact is to become a reality, not InfoRact, I'm sorry, Industry 4 is to become a reality, that the broad public has to have a good understanding about the risks and the opportunities involved. Today, it is our great pleasure to have with us Professor Monika Petraitė, who is a member of the InfoRact research team. Monika is a specialist on the role of international networks, in innovation and in upgrading regional, technological and economic capabilities. This is an important dimension of what we're experiencing. I don't need to place a context to this with what is happening geopolitically today and how networks are being restructured, supply chains are being restructured, and so on. I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to discuss this with Monika. The subject of Monika's presentation is how international innovation networks can change innovation performance of SMEs. Needless to say, SMEs make the majority, the overwhelming majority of the European industrial base, and more so in the case of Lithuania. So the subject is absolutely critical, and I hope we will have time not only to listen to the very informative presentation of Monika, but also have time to discuss and actually hear some of your questions regarding what is missing, what it is that we should be doing better, or we should be focusing on differently. So that's all from me, and I want to welcome Monika. And Monika, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Takis, for the nice introduction. So, as Takis has kindly presented, myself, I've been working as a researcher on national innovation systems for, let's say, so all my academic career. So it's more than 20 years now. And the question that was triggering me all the time remains the same: how to enhance and improve innovation performance of SMEs, and especially as we talk of Lithuania, and I will talk on research based on Lithuania, like European periphery, which is a part of Northeast Europe, and normally technology transfer flows are reverse. Let's say we attract less, we export lower value-added technology exports as we import. So basically we adopt technological innovations, and our ultimate aim is to upgrade towards higher value-added exports that are embedded by itself in innovation and technology development activities of SMEs. So, and as Takis mentioned, within InfoRact, so we aim to contribute actually how to bring and to move Lithuanian and other similar small country from the periphery firms towards upgraded innovation activities, where Industry 4.0 offers large opportunities and better integration chances into European value chain due digital solutions and other embedded solutions, especially in manufacturing industry. So my question today that I want to discuss with you is how international innovation networks can change innovation performance of SMEs and actually make them better embedded in national innovation system. Because when we talk SMEs, I think it's an important moment to note that SMEs are very much dependent on local innovation ecosystems and national innovation systems. We don't talk multinationals here, or let's say so in German terms, Grenzgänger companies that are having subsidiaries all over the world and they build up their own networks. We talk SMEs, and in Lithuanian case, mainly those are small companies, 50, 100, 150 employees. This is our reality. And these companies have always limited resources and capabilities to perform on a large scale. So they need a lot of policy support, a lot of competence influx into their daily activities in order to perform. So, but let's start from the rationale of the study. And I'll try to keep to leave like 15 to 20 minutes for questions and discussions. But the rationale for myself, and I hope for many who are engaged in Lithuanian innovation, performance, and upgrading, the question over the last 20 years was the same: why Lithuania remains in moderate innovator level at the European level and cannot really upgrade towards a strong innovator category as based on European Innovation Scoreboard, not to mention innovation leadership. So these are important things, and we are still there. And it's not, and as we see, the question is seminal in a way that all the European periphery, except of Estonia, which really linked very strongly with Finland, and a lot of technology learning and transfer has happened and still happening between the two countries. But all the rest, it's all the European periphery that is in that kind of disadvantage innovation position, and we can extend it also to the south. Let's say we can exclude north of Italy, it would be green, but it's per country analysis. So this all goes in that kind of peripheral notion. So nevertheless, economic progress, especially in all new member states, but especially in small economies, was tremendous. And over 30 years of open market economy and independent democratic society building, Lithuania, along with others, has demonstrated high competitiveness in the World Economic Forum rankings, and we are somewhere fluctuating between around number 40 in the world competitiveness ranking, ups and downs. But also we demonstrate high average income, and we are high income country according to OECD or World Economic Forum studies. High innovation driven exports that are continuing, and mainly that comes from manufacturing industry and also some other less innovative industries such as services, logistics services and stuff, but we didn't focus in the study on logistics. We particularly looked at the manufacturing and high to mid-tech service industries. It's a high economic freedom, which results also compound with the small size of the economy, above average global trade openness and integration. So it's very open economy and highly integrated trade economy. So any waves, any fluctuations affects us directly and quite immediately. We don't have internal resilience to global challenges and waves. And again, current development, given all these levels of international trade, high economic freedom, high income and growing income, meaning increasing production and manufacturing costs. So the desire to innovate at the highest speed and at the larger extent of economy. I won't talk here about, let's say, so high growth innovative enterprises. We have them about 10%, but this is quite a different animal. And our sample was around all innovating enterprises and exporting enterprises. And so my question is why we can't really overcome that innovation burden, though other macroeconomic conditions seems very favorable for innovating better, more and more successfully. And of course, it is important to note that one of the ranks that are quite low that went around trust in a society and lower institutional efficiency that might be considered as its important hinder in innovating activities. So we wanted to include also these trust components, especially that more and more evidence is coming that trust and open innovation at the national level is highly related. So highly innovating countries also demonstrate quite high societal trust index, and especially at the level of smaller countries. So those were the important questions that we faced, and then a study that we did before with Vytautė Lukavirskytė together also demonstrated that Lithuania, along with Latvia, that we saw also cannot overcome due to its national innovation system asymmetries and certain development paths, and evolutionary patterns are still the same. So we took the series of data for the 10 years as we did the preparatory study for OECD accession in Lithuania, but the picture didn't change much. As we see there, the only Estonia was able to reduce asymmetries in their innovation system, but Lithuania still had quite weakly performing research systems and low input of knowledge into innovation systems and firms' investments in innovation, and which stayed quite low together with quite average intellectual assets. Nevertheless, like finance and support, which is a policy items, has been increasing, and economic effects of innovation also were in a way positively lifting up. But so these asymmetries is my personal and I believe national pain of Ministry of Innovation and Economics, how we can build better, more symmetric and resilient innovation systems. So this was our question, and we compound this kind of a couple of variables. One, openness of trade, high exports of manufacturing, together with relatively low innovation performance within the country and national innovation system asymmetry. So we wanted to understand in this combination of, let's say, so wicked problem, what is the role then of international networks for upgrading learning and interactions within national innovation systems. So how we can stimulate more dynamics within national innovation systems, and actually to upgrade national innovation system to be more supportive to SMEs, and in order to them become more internationally competitive on the base of innovation. And so that's definitely the dominating hypothesis of our work, that asymmetries within national innovation systems may imply firms' orientation towards international innovation networks for technology learning and knowledge exchanges. Some of the basic constructs, I believe, I look at the audience, it's very well aware with the notions and concepts, but in our study, we define innovation systems as open, evolving, and complex systems that encompass institutions, firms, and economic structures, whereas the quality of its elements and the relationships between the elements determine the rate and direction of innovation. So in a way, we see innovation system as an ecosystem where quality and directions of relationships matters, and where the like a grounding relationship that makes innovation system effective is interaction of learning that we also define in the literature and also in practice as technology learning. So not technology learning that aims for acquiring various bits of knowledge that are very important for successful innovation and market development for innovations. And that has been also proved by the previous studies that national innovation systems are critical for firms' success on the international innovation arena, and in a way the role of global innovation systems and also local innovation systems is lesser. So building up on that, we looked we went into deeper into literature and framed that innovation ecosystems are understood as networks of innovations and communities of people and organizations that interact for production of innovation. So dynamic interactive networks that breeds innovation. So our focus, or like zoom in of the study, is the networks of innovation, not the entirety of innovation systems, which is a very complex concept per se, but we zoomed into the networks. And then the third component, as I mentioned already before, is technology learning that is found as the most important factor for innovation success, which takes place, we could say it as a connectivity-based learning or relationship-based learning that happens in a firm's interaction with users, markets, technological and R&D-based collaborations where different bits of knowledge from different stakeholders and partners, actors of innovation ecosystem come together in order to help firm to produce or to generate innovative outputs. And what is also important, that some other studies, and now it's an increasing number, that the importance of trust in technology learning and innovation system performance is critical, and that notion has been proved with the studies of Denmark, with the studies of Asian countries, and now with the large study published in Research Policy, where openness of innovation and societal trust are deeply linked. So there is more and more evidence that if we want to boost innovation, we also need to work around social assets and social components of the society. So this is these were the grounding theoretical propositions which led us to building the hypothesis, where we wanted to test how firms' innovation strategy is linked with a national innovation system, where we took as a major component in order for it to happen, as based on previous studies on technological learning and trust. And what is important to mention, as our empirical studies showed, that technological learning and trust is one compound variable. So basically the factor analysis demonstrated that they built one factor. So learning does not happen without trust. And we didn't check the reverse path, but in a way, both are reinforcing each other. And then we wanted to understand whether, based on the previous studies of Slavo Radošević and others, happens directly within national innovation systems, as SAPO project proved, or whether international networks play a more important role. So we really wanted to look at the path and underpinnings between national and international levels, while our study base was SMEs. So we have sent a large questionnaire to SMEs based in Lithuania, mainly focusing in manufacturing sector and high-tech service sectors. And we had many iterations with some PLS. So those who are working with that model of statistical analysis, you know how much pain it is before you figure out. And we went into iteration where a couple of iterations of the model, refining it. But the basic finding and the final finding that I want to discuss today is that innovation development strategy with the focus on international markets is very weakly linked with national innovation systems. So in a way, technological learning does not happen within national innovation system, and it's close to zero unless it is mediated by technological learning in varieties of networks. And those networks are of different kinds. So first of all, we found a strongest relationship between two networks. One of them is Global Innovation Network, where we face them as international or foreign research labs, technology parks, startup accelerators, and others. So in a way, if you go directly to national innovation system, nothing will happen. If you engage in global innovation system networks, then the relationship becomes critically important. And it seems that technological learning is happening more within national innovation systems rather within global innovation systems, because the first relationship is of much less significance than the reinforced relationship. So this is very interesting. You have to go out first to understand what you are missing and then come back with the knowledge of what you need to do to national innovation systems. And actually then a firm becomes much more successful. Same is true with joining international business networks and industry alliances. Again, direct learning link is very weak, but if we go through international networks and alliances, then our, let's say, so engagement with national innovation system provision is very important. So it's true for international user networks, and the only one network that had lots of learning but didn't bring back firms to national innovation system was international competitors and foreign lead user network. And then we have one very interesting, which is national narrow R&D networks. That means research labs, universities, and lead users, and one that were a strong mediator to national innovation system network. So this is very, why is it interesting and what are the key findings of the study? First of all, that we found that firm behavior is driven, technology learning behavior is driven by strategic and cognitive processes and imposed by upgrading internal capabilities for innovation, and different innovation network engagement paths could be observed by firms. But what is important, that the absence of the direct link between knowledge exchanges of innovating firm and national innovation system was observed. However, we have found a cure for that. It can be fully mediated by international innovation and R&D networks and also firm networks in order to boost performance within national innovation systems. And this is an important finding, that there is a way to upgrade national innovation systems, and also it proves that national innovation system is an important tool for firms to innovate. They can't innovate without strong innovation systems at home at the national level, but actually they need that important component of technological learning discoveries outside of the firm. So this is very important, and I think these are more discussion points that that just repeat, but one more time, that detailed discussion, and I think the presentation will be available after that. But this is critically important, that international networks or very focused national local R&D networks are critical mediators for large engagements in national innovation system. And let me go to impact and contribution part. So what is important, I think this is one of the very first studies that actually has tested the underpinning between national and international innovation networks, and we were trying to move up and down through this, let's say so, in a way, intuitive approach while applying some PLS modeling and construct the reality of firms, and also to assist firms in their innovation efforts and focus. And our study definitely demonstrates that importance of international integration of SMEs in innovation and innovation systems is critical in a case of small open economy, and we need to give a lots of attention for international collaborations of various kinds. As you see, we cannot extinct one or another one. There are a couple of critically important relationships in firms innovation, and this is an important implication for policymaking for small economies that are still in transiting towards high innovation performance countries with respect to opening R&D and innovation efforts to international partners and promoting domestic SMEs, domestic firms for engagement and proactive engagement in international knowledge networks, market and other knowledge resources. And also what is, as I started with European periphery notion, and that we have a bit different geolocation of innovation activities as compared to, let's say, so Visegrad countries or industrial center of Europe. So we need to have particular policy measures that would help accelerating technology learning and knowledge exchanges with the industrial center of Europe, while also, and this would also help us upgrading our national innovation systems through those interactions. And capability building at the firm level is critical, but even more it is critical to build capabilities at the innovation, let's say so, intermediary level, because SMEs, whatever research shows, they are not capable to be self-sustainable. So they desire those critical components of innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem actors other than the firm itself. That could be clusters, that could be tech parks, that could be innovation center activities that would help bring firms to build those capabilities of international networking at least at the European level and more. But SMEs, they mainly innovate in contact with European ecosystems that are available in other countries. Majority of them, of course, they locate around Baltic Sea region. Again, geopolitical situation matters and location matters for innovating firm and for technology learning to occur, but also we have broader contacts with, as I said, industrial center of Europe. So basically, this is important because that study demonstrates the behavioral patterns of SMEs in building their own innovation patterns and paths, and also helps to understand how we can make Europe more, let's say, so integrated and bring European peripheries closer to the well-developed industrial center of Europe. And maybe I will leave time for discussion and the questions. The full study is published in Technological Forecasting and Social Change, thanks to InfoRact. The paper is open access, so available for everyone. And it's called The Role of International Networks in Upgrading National Innovation Systems. And I'm happy to have one of my co-authors here, Mohammed Mubarak Faraz here. And yeah, so let's open the floor for questions and discussion.
Thank you very much for the presentation. You did a good job covering, how networks sort of collude, collaborate, and so on. What I missed is the dimension of the state government. Okay. You see today, for instance, what's happening between the EU and the American state. Okay, the Americans are doing exactly what they did with the .com thing, spending the hell out of it, and they're hoping to attract a lot of European SMEs in either California or whatever. Okay, that's one issue. The other, of course, is the semiconductors war, trying to take down Samsung and bring a lot of this production back to the United States. These are extremely important issues, it seems to me. If I am to think innovation systems, okay, I will not touch on the issue of geopolitics, but you mentioned it, you dropped the role of government repeatedly. If I understood correctly, you mentioned national innovation systems several times, and I imagine that includes what governments do, okay? How do they help or how do they do not help? Investments in infrastructure, these are critical issues. So can you please elaborate a little bit on how do you see the role of government, not government, the elected government, I'm talking the state, okay? Yeah. What should be, I mean, you see what Germany is doing versus what, I don't know, what Italy is doing, okay? Are there any specific questions which apply to economies like Lithuania?
Well, thank you, Takis, for that turn in our discussion. I think this particular study was like zooming in into just one question. And in that paper, you wouldn't find a role of government's explicit study, but the policy implication part. But the thing is that I think the government's, the role is, of course, of critical importance. And the countries that you mentioned, again, like large countries dominating economic landscape and also innovation, especially innovative economy landscape, which is US, Germany, others. So what is important for the governments here, the role, of course, it is critical and in one way, what we call smart money for innovation, smart FDI attraction, and adding auxiliary criteria to FDIs, and that they would be carrying an important element of technology upgrading. So it's one thing. And then, of course, the FDIs, they leave the most of spillovers in the economy as they grow, because entire ecosystems of firms of innovating firms, then SMEs, particularly of local origin, national origin, can build up around those technology intensive FDI firms. But also, even if they leave the country for whatever global policies of the firm, they leave a huge knowledge spillover. So the competence of the region is increased inevitably, whether we still have FDI or we not, and then the competence, the system. Of course, FDIs is a very strong tool to support smart specialization of the country as well, because if we bring in like a large capital, large investment, then of course the education systems will be boosted, innovative startup ecosystems will be boosted, technology parks will start collaborating more with those small firms in order, but it becomes like a big whale around which we can actually build up all the ecosystem, flora and fauna of that particular smart specialization part. And on the other hand, I think as we talk regions, we need to understand always, and those who speak Lithuanian in that group, we also know that if you speak Lithuanian, you also need to know how to speak English, Russian, preferably German, and some plus other country language, because only then you can, so in a way you have to have 4 times more skills and capabilities in order to become a fully proficient international, even very small player, right? So then the capabilities of firms has to be upgraded at much faster speed, and it's not only like innovation capabilities, but also international network skills, negotiation skills, and then a very wise support is needed. How do I protect my IPR if I go into international contracts, if I engage in innovation? How do I negotiate across different cultures, and so on and so forth? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a related question is the geopolitical shift that we're experiencing an opportunity for Lithuania or a risk? My understanding is there was a lot of oil refinement that was done in Lithuania, and I understand now there's connections to Norway, blah, blah, blah. But apart from that, the geopolitical thing, that is the relocalization of some activities, because I don't believe the BMWs and the Volkswagens of the world are going to get out of China anytime soon because of whatever. The long-term investments are not likely to be reversed, but a lot of other activities will. Okay, for safety reasons. So in your view, given the geopolitical position of Lithuania and, you know, the Baltics, let's say, would you say that this is an opportunity to build networks differently internationally? And what would be the plus and the minus of it?
Well, it's an amazing question. Thank you, Takis. Great opportunity. I think COVID was very positive for Lithuania because it imposed supply chain disruptions over the world, because then the European firms started to look where there is a manufacturing base, and Lithuania still has around 20% of manufacturing exports. Okay, there is a manufacturing in that place, and we can have lots of small firms that could take over, and we can maybe develop new networks, new supply chain constellations and configurations in order to become more productive. And that was a great opportunity, of course, but then the war came. And then the war makes the geopolitical situation completely unstable. And of course, it freezes. And like the first wave definitely was the frozen investments into the region, and even entire investment conferences were canceled for the region because the money, they don't want to be burned in the war machine. So they go somewhere. But as let's say the crisis is moving on, I believe that we are developing, and this is the new question, I call them a liminal space. So Lithuania is acting now in a liminal space or borderline situation where we have to deal with many crises at once and develop a new level of resilience towards the crisis, and to emerge as an expert of the, let's say, how to survive when uncertainty follows uncertainty. And in fact, we already have some good cases where, for example, Balkan countries, they are looking for expertise, not in Germany or some other countries. They are looking for expertise how to build up their technology and innovation systems to Northeast Europe, meaning Lithuania, Estonia, like, because you made it work, we still made it work, but how to make it, because from very stable large environments, they cannot learn. So I think Lithuania always has been demonstrating that strength of being able to connect different cultures and continents, and in a way, and technology development approaches. And now I think it's a huge chance to take a proactive role in both in restoring the regions and acting as a knowledge transfer agent from high developed innovation countries to lower development countries, and restoring the regions, but also ourselves to go in a reverse way, because we have a lot of knowledge that is not so much existent in their deep Europe, let's say. So it's very similar how frugal innovation moved from from India, from other countries back to Europe, where they were developed for solving particular problems at the particular circumstances, but they proved to be very resilient and also value adding also in a high developed, high income countries. So I think we still need to research more, but definitely there are lessons to learn that are exceptionally valuable.
Thank you very much. I think we are 1 minute before the end. I don't think we have time unless we have a good comment from the audience. Actually, now it's 1 o'clock. First of all, I want to thank Monika very, very much about the presentation on what is obviously a very controversial and very difficult subject. And I want to thank you all participants for being here. And we'll see you in the next webinar, which I think is the last week of February. Again, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining and for rigorous discussion, tough questions, eye-broadening horizons. So we will continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye.